You don't have to show that that hog is damaging your property. You can kill a feral hog. Obviously subject to other laws. You can't trespass. You got to have permission to be there.
State Senator Hughes making it easier for people to kill the nuisance wildlife. No questions asked, no hunting license needed.
It is 2:00 a.m. in the heart of Hill Country, Texas. The sky is so vast and quiet you can almost hear the whispers of the past. For most folks, this is when the world rests. But for men like Jim Miller, standing on soil his grandfather cleared with his own 2 hands, darkness brings no peace. Through the blackness, a shadow glides over the grass. Not a noise, not a gunshot, just the brutal tearing of earth under hundreds of razor-sharp tusks. In a single night, a lifetime of hard work is ripped to shreds by an invasive nightmare. This is not a Hollywood action movie. This is a real fight for survival, a quiet war to protect our heritage before it is lost forever. If you care about the American land and the stories of those who bleed for it, hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. As the first pale rays of sunlight break over the horizon, the brutal truth of the night before stands exposed. The morning fog clears to reveal a scene that looks less like a peaceful Texas pasture and more like a freshly shelled war zone. Deep, jagged trenches line the pasture, where green turf was turned into raw, ruined dirt just hours ago. Heavy barbed wire fences, strung by hand to last generations, lie bent and snapped under sheer brute force. Near the creek, the clean water where cattle usually drink has been churned into a thick, foul soup of mud and waste. When you walk out here at dawn and see a field you spent months seeding completely turned upside down, your stomach just drops. It is a gut-wrenching feeling that every rancher in Texas knows all too well. A whole year of honest sweat, sleepless nights, and hard-earned savings can literally be erased before the morning coffee even finishes brewing. To truly grasp why this hurts so deeply, you have to look at the staggering numbers behind this silent crisis. Right now, experts estimate that more than 4 million wild hogs roam across the state of Texas. That is not just a high number. It is an ecological disaster. These animals cause over $500 million in direct agricultural and livestock damage every single year. They tear up crops, destroy expensive irrigation lines, ruin cattle feed, and erode delicate topsoil. What makes this fight so terrifyingly difficult is the biological math stacked against us. A single pair of wild hogs can multiply into hundreds of descendants in just a matter of a few short years. Wildlife biologists say we have to eliminate 70% of the total hog population every single year just to keep their numbers from exploding further. Think about that for a moment. Killing 7 out of every 10 hogs on the land is not enough to eradicate them. It only keeps the population at a standstill. Standing on the edge of a ruined field, old-timers like Jim Miller will look you dead in the eye with a gaze that is bone-tired, yet stubbornly resilient. They do not complain about hard work or dry spells, but seeing the land destroyed like this cuts right to the heart. It is not just about the money lost, though the financial toll can break a family farm for good. It is about stewardship. It is about watching the soul of the land get stripped away bit by bit. The devastation reaches far beyond pasture fences and cornfields. These feral hogs are ecological bulldozers that wipe out local wildlife habitats. Native ground-nesting birds, like the iconic Bobwhite Quail and wild turkeys, are losing their homes at an alarming rate. When a sounder of hogs moves through a brush line, they devour every egg, stomp every nest, and destroy the native plants these wild birds rely on for cover. Streams and natural springs that once ran crystal clear are left polluted, threatening native fish and amphibians. The native countryside that Texas grandfathers passed down to their children is being reshaped into something barren and broken. Where are you watching this video from? Please tell us your country or city in the comments, and let us explore together. The destruction of the land is a cruel reality that Texas farmers face every day, but the fight is far from over. It is a constant battle between human endurance and an unstoppable force of nature, forcing landowners to search for new ways to protect what is rightfully theirs. Over the past few decades, landowners and authorities across Texas have tried just about everything under the sun to stop this invasion. Back in the early 2000s, folks thought they had finally found the ultimate answer with helicopter hunting. It looked impressive on camera, with choppers swooping low over open fields, engine blades roaring, kicking up massive clouds of dust as marksmen took aim from above. For a brief moment, it felt like high-tech firepower would win the day. But that heavy machinery came with a staggering price tag, often costing over $1,000 for a single hour of flight time. More importantly, it did not take long for the cold, hard reality to set in. Helicopter hunting was turning out to be an extremely expensive band-aid on a rapidly spreading wound. The fundamental mistake humans made was underestimating the sheer intelligence of the enemy. Feral hogs are far from stupid beasts running blindly on instinct. They are wickedly smart, highly adaptable, and possess a sense of smell so sharp it puts most hunting dogs to shame. It only took a couple of flyovers for these animals to figure out the pattern. They quickly learned to associate the distant chop of helicopter blades with danger. In response, entire sounders adapted almost overnight. They abandoned their daytime feeding routines completely, switching to total nocturnal living. When the sun went down, they slipped deep into the thickest cedar breaks and dense river bottoms, places where low-flying aircraft could never spot them or safely navigate. By 2017, desperate landowners tried shifting tactics to quieter methods, turning to thermal night ballooning. The idea was to drift silently through the pitch-black sky, scanning the dark pastures with heat-sensing optics without the deafening roar of a jet engine. While it offered a quieter perspective, hot air balloons were slow, clunky, and at the mercy of unpredictable Texas winds. You simply could not move fast enough or cover enough ground to keep up with an agile herd that could scatter across miles of rugged terrain in a matter of minutes. Every time humans came up with a clever new trick, the hogs adjusted their behavior and found a way to outsmart it. If you watch these creatures through an infrared lens late at night, you see their cunning in full display. A large matriarch sow will lead the group through the shadows, stopping every few yards to lift her snout into the cool night air. She tests the wind for the slightest trace of human scent or gun oil. The second she detects a strange sound or a faint click of a gate latch a quarter-mile away, her ears perk up, she lets out a sharp grunt, and the entire herd vanishes into the thick brush like ghosts. They do not panic. They execute a precise escape route they have memorized over years of dodging hunters. What Texas has been witnessing is a relentless battle between human technological ambition and raw biological survival instincts. For a long, frustrating stretch of time, nature came out on top. The old traditional hunting methods, the costly airborne chases, and the noisy drives were simply no match for an animal that learned faster than we could adapt. Landowners were left standing in empty fields, listening to the quiet Texas breeze, knowing that deep in the shadows, the hogs were winning the war of wits. But as frustration mounted and traditional methods continued to fall short, a quiet revolution was quietly brewing in the darkness. The game changed, not with louder guns or bigger engines, but with silence. Out on a remote Texas dirt road, long after midnight, a small team prepares for launch. There are no roaring propellers or blinding spotlights here. Instead, a compact civilian thermal drone hums quietly as its quad rotors spin up, ascending smoothly into the cool night air. Inside the cab of a pickup truck, a pilot sits in front of a glowing monitor, softly relaying coordinates over two-way radios to a small crew waiting on the ground. Within seconds, an invisible world comes alive on the screen. Hovering around 300 feet up in the sky, the drone is virtually silent and invisible to the world below. It acts as a silent eye in the dark, giving landowners an unprecedented bird's-eye view of their property without spooking a single animal. But as this technology started gaining traction across rural communities, it naturally raised some tough questions, especially among traditional hunters who hold deep values about wildlife management. Let us clear up a common misconception right away. People often wonder if these drones are turning into armed military-style machines. The answer is a hard no. Federal Aviation Administration regulations strictly prohibit mounting any kind of weapon on a civilian drone. Doing so is completely illegal, and no responsible landowner or operator would ever dream of crossing that line. These aircraft carry zero weapons. Their sole purpose is reconnaissance, serving strictly as a navigational tool to guide ground management teams safely and efficiently through the pitch-black fields. There is also a meaningful conversation about the old American tradition of fair chase. For generations, sportsmanship in hunting meant giving wild game a fair chance to escape using their natural instincts. But when you are dealing with millions of invasive feral hogs, the rules of game management are entirely different. This is not sport hunting for trophy antlers on a crisp autumn weekend. This is emergency land conservation, a desperate attempt to protect food supplies, pastures, and family livelihoods from an invasive species that operates under the cover of absolute darkness. Feral hogs took advantage of the night to lay waste to farms for decades, and thermal technology simply levels the playing field for the people trying to protect their homes. From 300 feet up, the thermal camera paints a clear contrast between heat signatures. A seasoned operator can easily distinguish a destructive sounder of wild hogs from native wildlife or domestic livestock. On the screen, a herd of white-tailed deer grazes peacefully near a tree line, completely unbothered by the quiet craft floating far above them. Nearby, cattle rest under an oak tree, undisturbed. Rather than stressing local wildlife or causing chaos in the pasture, the drone allows teams to target only the invasive hogs with surgical precision. By taking the guesswork out of night operations, this technology ensures absolute safety for everyone involved. Ground teams no longer have to blindly march into dense brush where wounded hogs or hidden cattle could pose a severe danger. They know exactly where the target is, what lies beyond it, and where native animals are resting. The drone transforms a chaotic midnight chase into a calm, calculated effort to preserve the land. What was once viewed with skepticism has now become an essential tool for stewardship. It represents a shift from brute force to intelligent management, proving that when technology is used ethically and responsibly, it can help restore balance to an ecosystem pushed to the brink. When the constant pressure from invasive hog sounders finally begins to lift, something truly remarkable happens out on the Texas range. The land begins to heal itself. Time-lapse cameras set up along scarred pastures capture a quiet transformation over the passing seasons. Deep ruts that once looked like miniature craters gradually level out under the gentle rains. Native grasses like little bluestem and side oats grama, which had been uprooted and trampled for years, slowly push their green shoots back up through the rich soil. Where raw, ruined dirt once stretched across hundreds of acres, a lush carpet of prairie life returns to cover the earth. With the return of native cover comes the long-awaited comeback of indigenous wildlife. In the morning light, small coveys of Bobwhite Quail creep out from the dense brush, their iconic whistling calls echoing across the quiet pastures for the first time in years. Tiny quail chicks dart eagerly behind their mothers through the high grass, finding safe nesting grounds where eggs were once routinely devoured by roaming hogs. Wild turkeys strut along the fence lines, and native pollinators buzz around freshly bloomed wildflowers. The natural soundscape of rural Texas comes rushing back, replacing the tense silence of a landscape under siege. The real magic of modern technology does not lie in its power to destroy, but in its ability to empower everyday people. Just a decade ago, sophisticated thermal imaging was an unreachable luxury reserved for wealthy corporate operations or government agencies. Today, accessible and affordable thermal drones have put these vital management capabilities directly into the hands of working-class ranching families. Small family farms operating on tight margins can now defend their property without taking on massive debt. A quick midnight flight allows a single farmer to monitor hundreds of acres from the bed of his pickup truck, saving countless gallons of diesel fuel and endless sleepless nights spent patrolling dark fence lines. Standing out near the perimeter line, a father and son walk side by side to inspect the newly repaired barbed wire. For the first time in memory, the fence remains taut and unbroken, and the soil beneath it remains undisturbed. The father rubs his weathered hands together, looking out over the green pasture with a quiet, genuine smile that replaces years of exhaustion. His son looks up at him, understanding that the fight they fought was never just about chasing off pests. It was about preserving their way of life, ensuring that the sweat and tears poured into the land would yield a future for the next generation. Hearing the crisp call of the bobwhite quail at daybreak offers more than just a pleasant backdrop for a morning cup of coffee. It serves as a living, breathing indicator of an ecosystem finding its balance once again. For the hardworking folks who call this place home, that morning bird song signifies the rebirth of hope. It brings the comforting realization that their hard work, their land, and their family legacy will no longer be torn away under the cover of darkness. The quiet Texas breeze carries a new promise across the prairie, showing that when human dedication meets intelligent stewardship, the land will always find a way to thrive again. Feral hogs did not ask to be here. They are the footprint of human mistakes made centuries ago, and healing this land is our responsibility today. Protecting our soil is never about hatred for a wild creature. It is about genuine stewardship and keeping a delicate balance alive. Embracing modern technology does not mean turning our backs on old traditions. It is how we shield those cherished values so our children can inherit a quiet, thriving home. Life teaches us that adapting to change is the only way to safeguard what truly matters. What are your thoughts on balancing technology with tradition on the land? Drop a comment below, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.